Yes.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Hey, good to see you after we met briefly at the event in 2008 in Minneapolis for Ron Paul.
Oh, that was fun. I remember that.
But you had to leave early. What happened? Why did you bail on Ron Paul?
I'll tell you why. I didn't bail on Ron Paul. It's when Jesse Ventura got up and started saying 9/11 was an inside job.
He didn't say that.
Yeah, he did say that.
No, he said that it was curious why the FBI, had Bin Laden on.
Look, I'm the list. I got it. I was there, and but.
So you had to leave because that one controversial.
I was enraged by it. It wasn't
So
controversial.
you were personally enraged.
Let me answer your question.
Sure.
It wasn't controversial. It was stupid. And if there's any evidence that the government was behind 9/11, I believe anything if there's evidence, but there isn't any. So knock it off. That's my view.
Okay, but
and I said that to him.
Sure, but one stupid person says something stupid at a Ron Paul event.
I hate that. And by the way, I am open to almost any crackpot theory about anything. It's just on that subject. Come on, you know what I mean? That's too much. That even for me.
So, just out of curiosity, then, what's your take on Building 7? Which explanation do you believe?
Come on. This is like...
No, that's a serious question. Which explanation did it?
Which explanation?
There's two explanations. It was either it was pulled, or it was isolated pockets of fire in the building that were sort of a side effect from the two towers coming down that brought it down.
This is a no-win conversation, so I'm not going to continue it. But let me just say one thing: my macro view is the obvious one, which is the buildings came down because a bunch of nutcases flew a plane into them.
Okay, so are you still supporting Ron Paul?
I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm supporting Ron Paul. I like Ron Paul. I've always liked Ron Paul.
So, are you supporting anybody in the race this year?
No, I don't support. I mean, I don't even.
You're
vote
an objective
someone.
journalist.
I don't even vote. I'm hardly objective. I'm honest. I'm not objective.
Certainly not afraid to speak your mind.
No, I'm not. No, you can assess my views. They're very clear.
You have any
But
message?
I hate that 9/11 crap. Wish they just kicked those people out. I mean,
my aunt was supposed to be on the 93rd floor.
Really?
It's important for people whose families were involved to know the truth, whether or not the government was involved or whether it was terrorists. But there's a history of government-sponsored terror throughout the past century.
Exactly.
So what do you mean kick them out?
I don't know. Whatever.
Anybody who's a 9/11 truther should be kicked out of the country?
Of course not. I don't even believe in parking tickets. I mean, please. I just don't. I think that people, before saying something that heavy, ought to present real evidence and not just it's a coincidence or questions remain and dumb.
I think the fact that steel doesn't weaken until 2,400 degrees is evidence that jet fuel couldn't cause a collapse of the tower from being hit near the top.
Except the thing is, it did. So that's the problem.
Steel doesn't melt until 2,400 degrees, and it didn't.
Now, I go back to our interventionist, Carl, who was way back when we first funded Al Qaeda. Back
1978.
Back when they were fighting the Soviets. We gave them a lot of money. The CIA pretty much trained them. I mean that's pretty much enough evidence for me.
That the government brought down the Twin Towers?
No, the government was involved in bringing down the Twin Towers because they would not be trained. Because who trained them? The government trained them. The CIA trained them. Special ops trained them.
All right, I've had this debate so many times. It's not, I don't know. It seems to me that it's kind of beneath like adult discourse, even really, I guess, and it definitely discredits otherwise good ideas.
I just think that the implications, if the government was involved, the implications are so vast that it should be looked into whether or not it seems ridiculous.
So for family members of the victims that are asking questions and want the evidence that's been withheld by the government released, you would say that they're less than adults somehow for wanting that information?
I would say that parasites like you make it much worse for them. That's what I would say.
I'm a parasite now?
Yeah, it's filthy to say things like that with no evidence, and you have none. You should say. That's my view.
Well, hey, Tucker, as long as we're hanging out here outside of the scrum, you look kind of like a parasite on Michelle Bachmann here. What's a parasite?
You know what? I will say that's fair. I would say the press
That's fair?
The press are parasites. Yeah.
Yourself included?
Of course.
All right.
Of course.
A lot of people would say that healing's in general.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair.
I gotta say, you're more fun to talk to than Michelle Bachmann.
Oh, I'm not running for anything.
It's almost as fun as Frank.
Who's Frank?
Yeah, we gotta talk to Frank Lutz earlier at the Ron Paul event. He's starting to figure out why liberty is so popular. He's starting to get it.
But there's an important distinction between liberty. I mean, I voted for Ron Paul in '88. I mean, I've been a Ron Paul fan a while. And this nonsense about 9/11 that morons like you keep bringing up. I mean, truly, that is just the most loathsome thing to say, I think.
Well, I don't keep bringing it up. It's not really my shtick. I was just wondering why you walked out of the convention because it's not really my issue.
It's so awful.
I'm
just so awful. And by the way, it just totally discredits libertarianism and the ideas of Ron Paul and liberty itself. If you start accusing people of things on the basis of no evidence.
You don't think Alex Jones has brought thousands of people to the message of liberty? I know you hate Alex Jones. What would you say to Alex Jones?
I'm not gonna.
This is your chance. He watches my channel.
I don't know Alex Jones. I don't have any feelings about Alex Jones. I just think that in order to imply that there was a conspiracy behind 9/11, you ought to have some evidence. That's all I'm saying.
And there's none. There's no evidence whatsoever.
And I've done a lot of shows on it. I've read a lot about it, and there are a ton of coincidences. There always are.
Got your walk a little bit about get out of here.
Alex Jones.
Hey, he's more popular than you are.
He certainly is.
I set my alarm to wake up to
I'll tell you what, I don't want any Alex Jones people in my house. You work for Alex Jones? No. Alex Jones freaks me out. I saw Alex Jones flip out on somebody in a scary way. Leading a mob to like hurt somebody. Yes, that's exactly. It's creepy though.
Alex was just there.
Michelle Malkin creeps me out.
I remember that specifically. Alex,
She's written hit pieces on me, so I'm a little biased.
Alex Jones, I don't know. I've never heard Alex Jones sing. I don't know much about him.
No, he's a libertarian. I mean, I understand like you're a different. There's lots of different stripes of libertarianism and different, and a lot of people don't like the issues that he covers. But you got to at least respect that he's fighting for the same thing.